Dr. Anthony, 71 years old, yet looks memdidin. His secrets to health, intimacy, and longevity. Are you ready to be surprised? To meet a man in his 90s, yet glows with the presence of someone decades younger? Meet Dr. Anthony, the world's most radiant elder, whose timeless grace has not faded with the years, but deepened like a fine melody played slowly, deliberately, and with wisdom. At 91 years old, Dr. Anthony shares 5 secrets that have kept him youthful, not just in appearance, but in spirit. His skincare routine, his diet, his morning rituals, his thoughts on intimacy, and the small, daily choices that lead to a long, beautiful life. Skincare. Who says beauty fades with age? Certainly not Dr. Anthony, a man whose skin still carries softness, clarity, and dignity. Yes, he admits, for decades he used subtle silicone injections and once underwent an intensive dermabrasion to treat sun damage. But those are not his secrets. His real mantra? Moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. With whatever he has at hand. And of course, sunscreen. Daily, everywhere. Even studies from Harvard have shown applying sunscreen daily can reduce skin aging by over 24%. Dr. Anthony knows it's the quiet, consistent habits that make the biggest difference over time. Diet. You might think he follows a strict diet, but no, Dr. Anthony eats by feeling. He loves food, loves cooking. In the morning, he starts with a glass of water and lemon every single day. He enjoys probiotic yogurt, and yes, he keeps ice cream in his freezer, not for binging, but for comfort. One would think clothes do it for me, he once said. But no, it's ice cream. Exercise. Each morning, Dr. Anthony walks, just 30 minutes, that's all. No heavy gym routines, no pressure. He stretches gently, listens to his body, greets each joint like an old friend. If something hurts, he pauses. If it feels good, he continues. He does not punish his body. He thanks it. He listens. Even opening my eyes, he says, can be an exercise in mindfulness. Breathing. Every breath matters. Dr. Anthony weaves slow, conscious breathing into everything he does. Stretching, moving, living. He doesn't chase youth, he honors presence, and that is what keeps him young. Love and intimacy. And yes, even at 91, he still speaks about intimacy with warmth and pride. Why would I give that up, he smiles. Like a Rolls Royce, you start the engine sometimes to keep it running well. He believes love doesn't disappear with age, it simply matures. Sometimes it's romance, sometimes it's friendship, but always it's connection. Almost everything in life, he says, less is more, except love. Dr. Anthony has lived through losses, 3 marriages, 2 financial collapses, but what remains? His joy, his curiosity, his gratitude. He doesn't plan to retire. I want to enjoy each day of my life, he says. And work is a part of that joy. So tonight, as you sit in the quiet of your room, ask yourself softly, what can I do tomorrow that honors my body, my spirit, and my story? Dr. Anthony's answer? It starts with a glass of water, a deep breath, and the belief that you're never too old to begin again. Dr. Anthony once said to me, youth is not an age, it's an attitude, a softness, a curiosity. He said it while sipping tea, his fingers trembling ever so slightly, but his eyes still sharp, still full of light. He doesn't look back with regret. He looks back with understanding. Every heartbreak, every failure, every wrinkle on his skin, all of it, part of a story that made him who he is. He told me once, when you lose everything, you gain clarity. When you live long enough, you realize the most important thing is not what you've gathered, but what you've given. And he gave generously. A smile to strangers, a steady hand to friends. Even this story, he gave it to you. So tonight, if you're tired, if your heart feels heavy or your body aches more than usual, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remember Dr. Anthony's voice, whispering in the quiet. Be gentle, be kind, and don't forget to love yourself first. Because the truth is, aging is not a tragedy. And if you live it with presence, with gratitude, with just enough ice cream in the freezer, then perhaps, just perhaps, you'll reach 91 and still feel 59, just like him. Dr. Anthony was born in a small village where silence was respected and the stars still knew your name. He grew up with hands full of soil and a heart full of wonder. His mother would make herbal tea every morning. His father rarely spoke, but when he did, every word carried weight. "Always make your bed," his father said once, "not because someone will see it, but because your mind will see it." Anthony carried that discipline into every stage of his life. As a young man, he was fiercely curious. He read books until his eyes hurt. He questioned everything, even his teachers, but always with respect. In his 20s, he fell in love. The kind of love that makes you feel like the world was painted just for you. They danced in hallways, shared secrets under trees, built a tiny life from scratch, and believed it would last forever. But it didn't. A diagnosis. A winter that came too early. A goodbye that didn't feel real. "She taught me how to love," he whispered once, "and her leaving taught me how to survive." After that, Anthony traveled. He studied medicine not just to treat, but to understand. He worked in remote towns. He delivered babies by candlelight. He sat by the dying and held their hands when no one else would. The secret to healing, he once told his students, isn't knowledge, it's presence. As years went by, he gained everything a man could want, a career, recognition, comfort, but he also lost again, another love, a house to fire to time. And still, he stood. "I don't chase youth," he said. "I chase softness, lightness, simplicity." In his 70s, people began to ask him for advice, not just on health, but on life. They didn't come for prescriptions. They came for peace. And he gave it, not through answers, but through stories. He taught that you don't need to do everything. You just need to do something with care. Make your tea slowly. Walk barefoot when you can. Tell people you love them. And for heaven's sake, forgive yourself. "You want to live longer?" He once laughed. "Then stop rushing." Nothing ages the heart like urgency. At 85, he bought himself a bicycle. Not to race, just to ride slowly through morning light. To let the wind remind him he was still alive. He says now, "I don't fear death. I fear forgetting how beautiful living is." In his room, there's no grand decor. Just a photo of his late wife. A drawer full of letters from people he's helped. A notebook where he writes something every day. Some days, just one word. Gratitude. And perhaps that's the real medicine. Not the herbs, not the routines, not the anti-aging creams, but the ability to look at your own life and say, "I've lived with heart. I've loved, I've lost, I've laughed, and I'm still here." So if you're still with me now, still listening, still breathing quietly on the other side of these words, then you too are part of his story. And perhaps your own story is just beginning. "There's something I've never told anyone," he said one evening, his voice barely louder than the wind outside. "The moment I knew I had truly grown old was not when I turned 80, or 85, or even 90. It was when I stopped needing to prove anything." He no longer needed applause. He no longer needed to be right. He no longer needed to be impressive. "I just needed to be enough." People chase purpose, he said, but sometimes purpose is not a thing you do. It's how you show up. He showed up every day, not to conquer the world, but to greet it. He said hello to the sunrise. He thanked the kettle when it boiled. He placed his shoes by the door, gently, as if placing down a memory. "There's a dignity," he said, "in doing small things with great care." One day, I asked him, "Dr. Anthony, if you had one lesson you wish the world could learn, what would it be?" He paused, closed his eyes. Then with a soft breath, he whispered, "Slow down and feel. Feel your breath. Feel your feet on the earth. Feel your own presence. And let it be enough." He told me about the patients he'd held as they left this world. Not a single one asked about their bank accounts, or how many followers they had, or whether their skin looked young. They asked for hands. They asked for forgiveness. They asked for someone to stay, just a little longer. And Dr. Anthony stayed. He stayed for the dying. He stayed for the grieving. He stayed for the ones who forgot how to stay for themselves. And somehow, in doing so, he stayed young. "When I die," he smiled, "don't remember my name. Don't remember my achievements. Just remember that once there was an old man who made tea slowly, smiled often, and loved this life with all its imperfections." "There's one more thing," he said, eyes looking out the window, where the last light of the afternoon spilled gently on the floor like silk. People always ask me how to live longer. But no one ever asks me how to leave well. He turned to me. There was no fear in his eyes, just clarity, peace, grace. We prepare for weddings, for jobs, for everything. But we don't prepare to say goodbye. And yet, if you live well, you'll leave well. That's the final gift you can give the people who love you. So how do you leave well? I asked him. He smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Forgive everything, he said, especially yourself. Make amends if you can. But more than that, make peace. Leave a room clean, a drawer in order, a letter maybe. Tell someone you love them and mean it. Say thank you to your body. And then let go. Not because life is over, but because you finally lived it. He paused, closed his eyes, and rested a hand on his chest. One day, I will go too, he said. Not with fear, but with fullness. Because I have loved this world. I have danced in its storms. I have sipped tea in its silences. And I have told my story to you. And now, dear listener, Dr. Anthony's voice has grown quiet. But his story, it lives in you. In every breath you take with intention. In every small act of kindness. In every time you choose rest over rush, stillness over noise, presence over perfection. So when you wake tomorrow, don't just remember his words. Live them. Pour your tea slowly. Touch your wrist softly. Smile at your reflection, wrinkles and all, and whisper to your heart, I'm not trying to be young again. I'm trying to be whole. And that is the real secret to a long life. Not years, but wholeness. The end, or perhaps the beginning.